Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Monday morning, the 21st of July. In this video, we're going back to Nova Scotia to talk about missing siblings, 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan from Lansdowne Station. They were reported missing around 10 AM on May the 2nd, and there's been no sightings as far as we know. The recent update by RCMP, which didn't really tell us very much other than the amount of work RCMP continues to do, that they've got loads of leads to follow up. They've had tips, they've interviewed over 60 people, they've done polygraph tests. We know that Daniel, the stepdad, and Malaya, the biological mother, have both taken polygraphs. Daniel says he passed. We don't know about Malaya. And in addition to the periodic updates from the RCMP, a whole bunch of family members and people connected to the family have come out talking, which has muddied the waters. It's been really difficult to understand exactly what went down, and there's a whole bunch of theories out there, in part spread by family members. For example, Malaya's grandma's cousin, Darren, he's been the biggest theory spreader that Malaya had the children disappeared because she wanted to leave. It's never made much sense. Why would, if Malaya wanted to leave an abusive relationship, why wouldn't she just go with Jack and Lilly? Like the person who picked Jack and Lilly up, why wouldn't she just go with them? Take them all the kids away. Plus herself, it doesn't make sense. Daniel's been spreading stuff about Malaya, and Malaya herself has remained silent. She's done one interview with the media on May the 3rd, only a few hours before she left the property. From my point of view, it's my opinion, that's one of the strangest things about this case, that within a day of the children going missing, Malaya leaves. And then Daniel is only allowed supervised contact with his biological baby, Meadow, who was 16 months old when Jack and Lilly went missing. So it's all very strange. Anyway, the other day, Janie, who is Daniel's mother, she gave CBC News access to the property. We saw the yard close up, like we've seen drone pictures of the yard, but it gives a really good feel for the size of this yard, how secure this yard will be, how close those little forts were that Daniel has made for Jack and Lilly, and the different outbuildings like this woodshed here and the chicken coop. You just get a feel for it. So I really liked this piece that CBC News did. It filled in some blanks for me, let's just say. What I want to do in this video is revisit the cadaver dogs issue. We heard from the press conference that happened on May the 7th, so just 5 days after Lilly and Jack went missing. You know, the RCMP and a bunch of search and rescue organisations pulled out all the stops between May 2nd and May 7th. There was a huge amount of search activity. But what we learned from that press conference was that they'd not used cadaver dogs. Now, cadaver dogs that are actually owned and trained by the RCMP, there's only a few of them. There's only one in the whole of Nova Scotia. That doesn't mean to say that the RCMP wouldn't have access to search organisations who would have maybe their own cadaver dogs, but it certainly means that the RCMP don't routinely use cadaver dogs as they do in the UK. Certainly here in the UK, dogs are heavily used, not only by the police, but by border agencies, airports. There's a lot of different types of search dogs. You've got your live scent trackers, you've got explosives dogs, drug dogs, a whole bunch of different dogs trained for specific activities. General police dogs might have some scent work training so that they can track down a fugitive or someone running from the law. And then you've got the specialists. And amongst the specialists are the cadaver dogs. In the United States, cadaver dogs are frequently used. So it confused me as to why the RCMP didn't bring in cadaver dogs. On May the 7th, they said they had reason to believe that Jack and Lilly were deceased. But at that point, they were assuming that Jack and Lilly had gone off into the woods and were lost, and something maybe accidental had befallen them, or they died of exposure or something like that. But as far as we know, cadaver dogs have still not been used 2.5 months later. So we're going to talk about the cadaver dogs and why I believe this was a massive failure on behalf of the RCMP not to employ cadaver dogs. Let's go. I'll give you an example as to how important cadaver dogs are in police work when we're talking about missing people. Let's take the case of missing then 5-year-old Michael Joseph Vaughan from Fruitland in Idaho. Michael went missing on the evening of the 27th of July 2021. So in a handful of days' time, Michael will have been missing for 4 years. Just over a year into the search for Michael. Everybody following this case was shocked when the cops honed in on a property less than half a mile away from Michael's house. And they dug up the entire backyard. Trucks and diggers took the earth off layer by layer. And each truck that drove away with a whole pile of earth, I don't know where they took it, but it was sifted. Literally tons of earth was sifted for any evidence of Michael. But at a press conference, the police chief, J.D. Huff, said that they had reason to believe that Michael had been buried in that yard, but they believed he'd been moved. Now, it was good old-fashioned police work that led them to that house in the first place, but they ran cadaver dogs, several cadaver dogs, and every single cadaver dog alerted on a specific area in that backyard. They believe that Michael was in that yard at one time, but then was moved, maybe when they realised that the cops were onto him. Why am I giving you this example? Well, in the case of Jack and Lilly, let's just imagine, right, because there's theories along these lines. Let's just imagine that Jack and Lilly died on this property. Now, whether that was through accidentally ingesting some substances that were on the property, we don't know whether anybody was taking drugs, honestly. Or we've heard in recent days from Jack and Lily's biological grandmother that she was shown photos by a reporter who'd got this information from Jack and Lily's school, that it was the school that involved the CPS. We do know that the CPS had been involved in the months prior to Jack and Lilly going missing. But it was apparently, according to Belinda, the school that got the CPS involved because they had concerns about a black eye that Jack had and various marks on his face. So they were concerned that he was being abused. So let's consider that angle, whether it was Daniel or Malia or both of them, and one or both of the children died. Sadly, those are things that do happen. But here's the thing. This is why I believe it's a massive failure on behalf of RCMP not to run cadaver dogs around this property. Because it's not necessarily that they're going to find Jack and Lily's bodies, but they can hone in, they can indicate on a location where the bodies were before they were moved. Now, there are some caveats here, because the body has to be deceased for a few hours before the decomposition is sufficient for a dog to alert on it. If you look at the literature that's available in relation to cadaver dog training, you see that some really good dogs, really highly proficient dogs, can alert on an area where a body has been, not where a body is, but where a body has been, where a body has been laid only for a few minutes. Like, the body only needs to have been laid there for a few minutes. And the time since death, 1.5 to 2 hours, you need the post-mortem interval to be. And the longer the post-mortem interval is, the easier it is for a dog to alert. Let's say Jack and Lilly died Thursday night, early hours of Friday morning, and then their bodies were moved, running a cadaver dog or dogs around this property would give the cops an indication that there were deceased humans on this property. And it gives them an extra level of things that they can interrogate the family on. If they get an indication from a cadaver dog on this property, Yahoik, Malaya, Daniel, Janie, anyone else who was on the property at the same time, and you interrogate them to within an inch of their life to get at least one of them to spill. Because there's so many places on this property where bodies could have been hidden, like woodshed. They ran a drone under the trailer. Great. But what if the bodies had been moved? This is the woods area. It's very close to where the trailer is. But these are the forts and the places where Jack and Lily play. You see there's children's toys there. Running cadaver dogs around here. Again, you've just got that extra little bit of information that you can use as an interrogation tactic. So I think it's a massive failure on behalf of the RCMP not to have done this. It's just standard practice. Certainly in the United States and the UK, it would be standard practice when a kid's been missing for a few days to get the cadaver dogs in. Because you're looking at every single possible angle. And now, in the latest updates, that, you know, they're saying that everything's on the table, they're looking into everything. Now, in the first few days, they weren't. They were just assuming that Jack and Lily were lost in the woods. We know that there was proof of life Thursday afternoon, but anything could have happened from Thursday afternoon when they got home to Friday morning when they were reported missing. If they'd run cadaver dogs around that property and they'd not had any indications, there was nothing, I would be more confident to say, okay then, let's rule out the possibility that Jack and Lily were murdered, or Jack and Lily died accidentally through ingesting drugs, for example, and then, you know, they panicked and hid the bodies. I'd be more confident to say that that didn't happen. I couldn't rule it out completely, but I'd be more confident to say, all right, more likely than not, that didn't happen. But as it is, literally everything is still on the table. And 2.5 months down the line, I find that really alarming. It's sad. I find it shocking, guys, that we are no further forward than when we started. We've got nothing. I'm hoping the RCMP have something. They've got leads that are leading in a certain direction. You know, they're less influenced by all the nonsense that's being said on social media. But still, it's a massive misstep. Honestly. It really is. All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Oh, by the way, before I sign off, a couple of things. Stefan Stearns' plea change hearing is happening at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, which is 6:30 p.m. my time. I will be live to stream that so we can watch it together over on my other channel, Michelle Walks. If you're new to this channel, I have another channel. If you like what I do over here, you'll like what I do over there. I don't post daily over there, but I'll be live on Michelle Walks later to stream that. Secondly, if you're not yet subscribed, please do me a favour and hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. All you have to do is click the subscribe button. I know that almost 50% of people who watch my videos watch them regularly, but just have not subscribed. The reason why I'm pushing this is because I want to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And I think I can do it with your help. If everybody who watched my videos subscribed, I'd be closing in on 200,000 subscribers. And it's a milestone for any YouTuber to reach 100,000 subscribers. So please help me out. Completely free, no skin off your nose. Just click the subscribe button. All right, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Good girl. Good girl,